Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Hercules and the Space Gods, I'm proud to bring you Nick Curto and Disclosure Network New York. Greetings and welcome, Nick. How are you?
Oh, very well, Hercules. Very much looking forward to tonight's program. It's going to be exciting, I promise.
It always is, and I'm looking forward. If you need me, just holler. I'll be here, but hidden.
Okay, you've got yourself a deal, my friend.
And welcome
Uh,
back, Ray.
Thank you, Hercules. Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful to have Ray back. Well, Disclosure Network New York, I am very proud to say, is now in our 27th year of doing 2 meetings a month in deep research of UFO, ET, and paranormal experiences. And we have amazing people in the group. We are based in Manhattan, but we have members in Hawaii and Europe and all over the United States. And I couldn't be more proud of the group we have. They are deep researchers. They read the news. They go into all kinds of videos on YouTube and their own private information. And then they share that with me, and then I share that with our members. And I do a email, kind of an email newsletter almost every day. So it's a very active group. And I can honestly say I've met some of the most amazing people I've ever experienced in my life. And it's all because of the membership of Disclosure Network New York. Again, 27 years and counting. And it's the most wonderful group you can imagine. We're going to be doing in Central Park this summer CE5 events, which means that we will do vibrations, we will do meditation, and then we will reach out, whether it's in the afternoon or in the evening, and try to make contact. And have we ever succeeded? Yes, we have. Yes, we have in amazing ways. One time in Central Park, we were there at night, about 9 o'clock. Most people had left the park. It was dark. The stars were bright and shining. And one of our quieter members uh, it screams in the middle of Central Park where the Cleopatra's Needle, the iconic, uh, right behind the Metropolitan Museum, the obelisk, which is made of granite, and it seemed to be the perfect place to be to try to make contact. And this quiet member of our group screams at the top of his lungs, "Oh my God, turn around, everybody, and look up." And we look up and we see three white lights, and they're slowly moving. Again, it's a very clear night. The stars are very bright. And we saw these three lights, and they were white, and they were moving in sequence together. But when it went past the star cluster, and I looked very closely, it covered the star cluster, which means it was one triangle, not three separate ones. And it slowly moved towards us. And in about a minute or two, it was directly over our heads. If you can imagine such a thing. And it, and no one could move, no one could talk. It was such an experience. And it was directly up over our heads. And then it stopped. It absolutely stopped in midair. And I think, and everyone else felt, it was an acknowledgement. We know you're here and you know we wanted to communication and we just wanted to give you a nod. And it was so thrilling. And then it continued on its way towards the north and out of sight. And here we are, ufologists, maybe 15 people, and we all had cameras and recording devices. Do you think that anybody had the foresight to photograph that? No, no, nobody did because we were in awe of what was going on. I just had to share that story. Anyhow, let me introduce my very special, and I mean special guest. Uh, Cosmic Ray Keller is one of my favorite people in the whole movement. He's an amazing man, a great author. And Ray, welcome to my program.
Thank you, Nick, and hello and celestial greetings to all the New York Disclosure.
Thank you, sir. And I thought we should start off. We can go in any direction you want, but I'd like to start off with you talking about the books that you've authored, and I know they're on Amazon. Could you just take us through that, and what's your latest book?
Oh, yes. Well, my latest one is Pennsylvania in the Paranormal Vortex.
Oh,
And it just came out this month. It's co-authored with Fred Saluga from the Mutual UFO Network. He's the Eastern States director, and he's a former police chief in Fayette County, Pennsylvania.
really?
And it's very exciting because it's a follow-up. It's actually a follow-up to our book last year, which is Pennsylvania UFO Portal. And this one is carrying to the super spectrum, as John A. Keel talked about, associated phenomena that appear simultaneous with sightings of UFOs. So we have Bigfoot, cryptids, spectral apparitions, and hauntings, uh, Men in Black, the whole thing in the follow-up book. And then my other independently, I have this book, The Real Resident Aliens.
Oh,
And I was watching this came out at the end of last year. And as I was watching the TV program with John Tudyk uh, called The Resident Alien, and it's a it's a fictional account based on real entities that have been cited, like blue avians and reptilians and so forth, and all of them, the grays, and it's all, the whole gamut is covered in this show. But then it it dawned on me, we need to have a book that's not fiction, that tells the story of the aliens, good and bad, that are here among us, sharing our planet with us. And this story needed to be told, and that's why I wrote The Real Resident Aliens. So everything from the types of beings encountered that are friendly, like the Venusians, Pleiadians, and others, and to the even to the bad guys. They're all covered here in this book, and uh, what they're. I attempt to answer what they're doing here, and look at the whole agenda and what we're doing about it behind the scenes.
well, this is about as cutting edge as it gets, Ray, as you know. That is so exciting. It really is. And you're covering such different areas, which is all uh, part of the huge picture that's coming up. And I think you'll agree with me that we've never lived in such an exciting time as right now. This planet right now is just beginning to understand what's really going on and what's really here and what has been here for a long, long time. And
Yes, this is
yeah,
why it's so important, Nick, because um, we're the vanguard of this whole thing for extraterrestrial contact. And the reason that the people watching this show right now, uh, and others that are involved in ufology, um, and the CE5 movement, and all this um, interest in paranormal phenomena and so forth, is because we are the vanguard. We're preparing for the rest of the world. You know, we're laying the groundwork, and it's so important. So we are the disclosure, because so many of us are having contact, and that's one of the things that I wanted to address too. Is the disclosure, which I see is taking place on 3 levels. And the first level, of course, is the the well, I would say it's actually Hollywood, because when we go back even to the early 1950s with the movies, and The Day the Earth Stood Still, for example, the co-author with George Adamski's books, a British royal family member, Sir Desmond Leslie. He was significant technical consultant to that movie, and was based on based on it's actually based on Adamski's encounters. And then when we go ahead in time, we see more kind of government involvement in the background. In 1956, when Earth versus the Flying Saucers came out, Major Donald E. Kehoe, retired Marine Corps aviator, and the director of the then largest UFO group in the USA, National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena in Washington, D.C. He served as the technical consultant for that movie, even contributing the schematics for the kind of saucers and the beings and so forth. So it was really, really something. And then when we jump all the way ahead to 1977 at Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, we see Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who is the Air Force and also Project Sign and Grudge, technical consultant on UFOs for over 22 years, an astronomer from Northwestern University. He actually made a cameo appearance in the movie besides being a technical consultant. And there was so much in that movie that in ufology, if you dig hard enough, you'll find that they just drew from real facts and incidents, like the police chase. For example, there was Deputy Spar, who chased a UFO all the way from Ravenna, Ohio, almost to the outskirts of Pittsburgh, and all they did was change the toll gates, because in the movie they put it in Indiana instead of Ohio and Pennsylvania. It was Ohio and Indiana, and then the exchange of personnel that took place in the movie with the American contingent that went on board the mothership. And yeah, it's just really fantastic. And then, so I see that happening a lot, the Hollywood disclosure. It's a soft disclosure, is essentially what it is. And then we have the government, which is really moving at a snail's pace, or in fact, sometimes not moving at all.
That is an understatement.
And the reason I say that, Nick, is because on the 16th of January 1948, when they released the findings of Project Sign, the first investigation of UFOs by the newly minted Air Force. And then they said, well, there's definite technology here. We have to admit that, but we're not going to say right now that flying saucers are interplanetary spacecraft. And then let's get in our time machine and speed up ahead to the 25th of June of 2021, when the congressional hearings were going on. And then they said, now they're calling them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, not even UFOs, and certainly not flying saucers. But they said in in the summary of that report, the congressional report, that there's a definite technology here. We can't deny that. The Navy pilots really encountered some kind of advanced technology, but we're not going to say that it comes from outer space, that it's extraterrestrial or ultra dimensional. So there, I don't know. It's like 80 years and still nothing. No change. So,
Yeah,
and
you're
then,
absolutely right. And when you think of some of the jumps that we've had technically, just in your lifetime, in my lifetime, and all of a sudden, these very high-end products are on the market, and we're thinking, wait a second, this is like such a jump, and it happened so fast that you're thinking, was all this in the lab all these years, or did somehow they get advanced information, perhaps, and then they took it to the various industries and companies and developed it? And oh, perhaps there was a crash, a vehicle from another planet, and just perhaps they went in and tried to figure out how it was flying and how it was communicating. I mean, Ray, you couldn't even make this up. You know that.
oh yes, and it's amazing. And I wanted to talk about that third level of disclosure,
Sure.
which is taking place on a personal level. Now, back in the 1960s, when 1966 and the swamp gas episode up in Michigan, they did a poll, a national poll, and right before the Condon report started at the University of Colorado in 1967. And at that time, 50% of the American people said, yeah, we think that that unidentified flying objects exist, but only a small amount of people had actually seen them, a very small percentage. Now, when the congressional hearings were held, right before that, in June of 2021, another poll was taken, and it said that now 85% believe that unidentified flying objects exist, and a good many think that they might be interplanetary spacecraft or interdimensional or something other than earthbound explanation. And then what's amazing about it, though, is that 15% said that they had not, 50% said they had actually seen UFOs, and 15%, which would have a population of 300 million, would be 45 million people, they say that they've had some kind of contact with an extraterrestrial or ultra-dimensional entity at one level or another. So we're talking about spiritual, metaphysical, or even physical, uh, 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 third dimension, real hard science type stuff. So this is a big change, and I think that maybe the only ones who've been doing their job in informing the world about it, besides us as ufologists, I got to give Hollywood some kudos for that.
No, that's right. Exactly right. And I think that the way they approached that was to see what was really going on and then do a kind of a parallel to put it in the movie, which made it seem even more real and authentic. And so that was actually a smart thing to do, and getting people who've actually had experiences and then tapping that information and then going to the script writers and putting that in various ways was a smart move.
Oh, most definitely, and I think that we're all doing a great job in and keeping this subject before the public all this time.
Absolutely true. I was interviewing Dr. Stephen Greer a ways back, and he said something very interesting. He said, for those people who are fortunate enough to see a UFO closer, let's take a look at the body and see if it's one solid unit, one solid vehicle, or if you see something that looks like rivets. He said, if you're seeing it with rivets, it's from us, our planet's technology. But if you're seeing one unit, one solid ship without anything like that, it's from them. It's from our neighbors on various planets because they've got the technology. And I'm going to say 3D printing on a gigantic scale. And we know right now we're printing buildings, homes with 3D printing materials, and the computer is very alongside the carpenters are now making houses, and it's like one material making the entire house is seamless, and it's much more efficient, holds the weather better, and it's beautiful. And if you can imagine an advanced civilization with much bigger 3D printing equipment that could turn out huge ships that have no cracks or anything like that, makes perfect sense.
Oh yes, yes, and well, back in the early 1950s at the Interplanetary Spacecraft Conventions out at Giant Rock, there were some of the contactees that were talking about some of the more advanced etheric beings as being able to teleport themselves uh, effortlessly through between planets. And Howard Menger even took pictures of them out in the Blue Mountains in eastern Pennsylvania. And he didn't want them to get out, but his wife Connie published them in Amazing Stories, and I have them in my Pennsylvania book. Um, those pictures and the UFO portal.
Oh,
And let's see if I can find it. I'll show you that. Yeah, this is uh, there's Howard and Connie there,
oh yes.
and then this is uh, this is from my Venus files. That's taken directly from the Amazing Stories science fiction magazine,
Wow.
and these are actual beings that convert into in they transmogrify into light beings of energy, and so that there's various levels of advancement between these different stellar civilizations. As some are ultra dimensional, and they don't even need physical craft. They could either um, uh, modify their molecular structure, or they can travel through these portals that they can create. And I have to say that this past week is very important because with this coronal mass ejection, once this gets trapped, when it hits the Earth and it gets trapped in the magnetosphere, besides causing the aurora borealis, it's zipping back and forth in our magnetosphere, and it's opening up little pockets of energy uh, where more ultra dimensional phenomena could seep through, and that's why there's a lot of sightings taking place, and not only of UFOs but cryptids and everything else. Yeah, George Fawcett was one in Massachusetts and then later North Carolina, MUFON. He identified at least 14 kinds of phenomena that are associated with UFO reports in periods of these coronal ejections when they wreak havoc with our magnetosphere.
So interesting. The advanced technologies that are employed by our neighbors in various galaxies, various planets, and when they come here, when they visit, or even for here a long, long time, and we can go into that a bit. Um, it's amazing. I was reading recently that I can't remember who they were, but they were able to go into a ship. And they said what was so surprising was that when they went in, they knew what the ship was outside. They could see how big it was. It was big, but it wasn't gigantic. But when they went in the ship, it was huge inside, much bigger than what it appeared on the outside. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Oh, yes, and I think that's where in the BBC TV series Doctor Who with the TARDIS,
Oh.
they actually got that idea, as many science fiction writers do, from actual reports of contactees.
Keep your eyes open. I was walking on Fifth Avenue in New York City a few years ago, and I was walking right past Tiffany's. I remember very clearly. And unlike most people, sometimes I look up at the sky because, especially in big cities with all the big buildings, people don't look up. Well, for one thing, they want to be careful because there's so much traffic and people are running around and they want to avoid a situation that would be dangerous. But I happened to look up and there were these bright white clouds, billowing clouds that were there, and it was a bright blue sky. And I just looked up for a second, and then I saw this white dot go wham from one cloud to the next. And wait a second, what did I just see? And then another one, vroom, very quickly went from one cloud, like they were using the clouds for cover, but they had to go from one cloud to the other. So they did it really incredibly quickly. And I was alone, so I couldn't say anything to anybody because and it was all gone in a second. So I couldn't really comment with other people, but it was certainly that was an amazing situation. Just look up, and sometimes you'll see something that is incredible, it's spectacular, and but you need to have the foresight to say sometimes look around, look up, and see if you see anything.
Oh, yes. And well, there was a study that was done by NICAP, um, um, Major Keyhoe's group, back in the 60s, and Richard Hall put it together. He was the co-director, and it was the UFO Evidence was the title of it. And NICAP was looking at who are the people that most report UFOs. And as you were just mentioning, Nick, it's people that their business is to look at the sky. So we have pilots and astronomers that are in the lead, and then also police officers because they're first responders when people report UFOs. Since the recommendation of Dr. J. Allen Hynek in the FBI Bulletin in 1975. He provided the guidelines from the FBI for law enforcement agencies as to how they should deal with UFO reports as first responders. So, when they say the government wasn't involved anymore in UFOs after Project Blue Book closed down with the Air Force, that's not true because Dr. Hynek was writing about it in the FBI's bulletin. So, I mean, this is stuff that's really out there, and people can find it.
Yeah,
It doesn't now
yes,
everything is on the internet almost.
absolutely true. When someone blurts out, I don't know if I believe in a UFO. I'm thinking, you don't have to believe in it. I mean, it's not like something that you have to maybe think that it might be true. It's in your face. It's in your face. if you have the courage and the capacity to entertain that and then keep your mind open, it doesn't take long before you connect the dots.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of believing, um, maybe it wouldn't hurt if they put a little faith in it. After all, it does say that, or Billy Graham did say that he didn't see the difference between angels and aliens. He wrote about that in his book, God's Angels, God's Secret Agents, in 1975, and it's on page 21. And he
Oh,
said,
that's interesting. I didn't know that. That is
oh
very,
yeah. He said don't that if you're looking for angels, maybe you don't have to go so far from flying saucers and aliens. and then and then in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 2, it says we should always be kind to one another, for know ye not that ye entertain angels unawares. So even the ancients in the first century, when Paul was writing all these epistles and everything, they knew that there were these beings that were coming down and walking among us. I mean, they called them angels. They're the good guys, and demons, the bad ones. But we just call them by a different name. That's how I look at it.
oh, I think you're right on the money on that, Ray. Absolutely true. What do you think of Jesus, Yoshima? What do you think of that? I mean, the connections are amazing when you really look at that. Um, do you? I don't know if you're spiritual. Or not, you could let me know that. And do you have any feelings about that? And um, the Jesus and the story of Jesus and all of that. Do you have any comments? I would be curious.
Well, in my first book, I explore those issues. In the one Venus Rising, a
Oh yeah.
concise history of the second planet, and many of the world's religions and cultures place a great spiritual significance on the planet Venus. And Jesus himself said in Revelation chapter 22, verse 16, he said, I am of the bright and morning star, the root and offspring of David. And then Peter said in his letter, he said to let the morning star rise in your hearts. So, and when you look at the other religions too, the whole Native American cultures place great emphasis on the morning star, and the the uh, the Indians of the American Southwest, especially, and then in Central America, the Mayas, the Aztecs, they based their whole calendar on Venus. I mean, you'd think maybe the sun or the moon, because it's closer, but no, it's on the planet Venus. So there's definitely something. Even the New Mexico flag has the Indian star symbol for Venus on it. So there's definitely something there as a spiritual importance. And Helena Blavatsky, who co-founded Theosophy, she said that Venus was the most powerful and influential planet in our solar system and in the universe for the Earth, because it's our sister planet, and so many avatars and teachers have been sent there to help guide us along along the way, because everything we've done, they've been there and done that, and they want to help us to avoid the pitfalls. But at the same time, they don't want to be our glorified babysitters. So what they do is they plant memes in our society, and they encourage us to move in certain directions behind the scenes, so that we develop our own unique structures, um, that for our planet and our civilization, so that when we do enter as the 602nd planetary member of the Confederation of Planets, that will be on an equal and worthy basis. And this is, I mean, this is very important to me. Um, there's uh, a science fiction writer um, that attended all of the interplanetary spacecraft conventions, and Elaine Smith, and she was crowned at one of them to be Miss Outer Space, or the Queen of Outer Space. And she wrote a book called The Venus Trap. And it was a science fiction story in the 1950s. Oh, Evelyn Smith, yeah. And in this story, and yeah, she was also interviewed at the Giant Rock Convention by um, WOR New York's Long John Neville, who came out there in 1957. And so I have all that information and the pictures of it in the my book, The Vast Venus Conspiracy. But in that book, The Venus Trap, um, the people of Earth asked the Venusians to come down and run the show for them because they made they think that they made such a mess out of things. So the Venusians agreed to do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
after about 10 years, all the people of Earth are uniting to overthrow the Venusians, even though it's a benevolent dictatorship and they have everything they ever imagined, but they don't have their autonomy to create their own systems. And the Venusians say, we'll gladly leave. It's about time you took some responsibilities for yourself. And we don't want to be your babysitters. And so that's what and I thought that book was very prophetic. People thought, it was just a fun story, a science fiction story, but if they knew who Evelyn Smith was, like I reveal in the Vast Venus Conspiracy, she was a neighbor in Noblesville, Indiana, to before she went out to those conventions with Dr. George Hunt Williamson, the first astroarchaeologist, and who wrote this book in 1953, Other Tongues, Other Flesh. He wrote about the reptilians and also the grays, and predicted that within 10 years, the whole UFO phenomena would shift from the contactees to the abductees. And yeah, he prophesied it. It's in the penultimate chapter there called The Intruders in his book, Other Tongues, Other Flesh. So these people in that contactee era, they were very prophetic. And what they had to say was very important. And I'm so glad that people are paying attention to it now. And that's really why I write all these Venus books.
They're incredible. I've seen many of your books, and they are amazing. I highly recommend that people would check your books out. How many books, Raymond, have you written?
Let's see, there's 12 of them now.
Good work. My goodness, what a wonderful collection that is. I wanted to ask you about Val Thor, the story of Val Thor, because you were hitting very much on the subject of uh, concern about our planet and where it was going. And Val Thor's mission, as you well know, was to say, we will give you advanced information that will benefit your planet, but, and here's the but, you must agree worldwide to stop nuclear testing and nuclear war because it's your enemy and it's going to destroy you and your planet. Do you want to comment on Val Thor?
Oh yes. The case is very real, and I have all of August C. Roberts' files, and I presented him. In fact, at that meeting that we were at in New Jersey.
That was wonderful. I really had a good time at that meeting. A lot was said.
And so it's very, very real. And the Venusians came to Howard Minger's farm in High Bridge, and people saw them do amazing things. And they were able to photograph even Howard and Connie in a process of transmogrification into light beings in front of 40 people in their basement. And it's all documented, and it's so real that it's just another instance of a UFO contact that gets covered up and just kind of lost in the shuffle. That's why I'm doing the things I'm doing right now.
It's important that you are, and I'm so happy it's in good, capable hands. And these are the stories. This is the information we need to have, so we can reference it and use that. That's an important point, and you're doing a great job handling that area for
There,
sure.
Nick, there was one thing that I found that was very interesting in Dr. Frank Strange's NICUFO files, National Investigations Committee on UFOs, that he had in Van Nuys, uh, California. And uh, he became fascinated with a woman in South Africa named Elizabeth Clare. And she had a ranch that wasn't far from the Drakensberg mountain range. And she photographed Venusian scout ships coming in and out of this mountain. And so I published those on Lon Strickler's Phantoms and Monsters site. I wrote a whole series of articles about Dr. Frank and Elizabeth Clare. And what was very interesting is when Valiant Thor and communications officer Jill and Vice Commander Don Thor, and then Tanya, the medical officer, when their pictures were taken there, uh, August E. Roberts and some others noted that that they had credentials as journalists from South Africa.
Interesting, very interesting. I hope that Highbridge, they were thinking about doing a weekend where people could speak about the goings on when they were visited by Val Thor and his crew. And I think that would be a tremendous thing to do for that area, High Bridge, New Jersey, to have a whole weekend devoted to that, the story and all the ramifications, because it's a very, very important story indeed. And also on maybe New Hampshire with Betty and Barney Hill and that incredible story. I think that that area should have a weekend, hopefully in nice weather during the summer, where they really get into that story and get into the ramifications of what happened to these wonderful people out of the clear blue sky and how it affected their lives. There was an off Broadway reading of a proposal to do a play about Betty and Barney Hill based
Wow.
on the transcript of the doctor who was examining them.
Oh,
He
Dr. Benjamin.
and he recorded. He asked permission and got it from Betty and Barney Hill to record all of their sessions. And so the the people who were in this production got a hold, luckily, of the actual transcripts and made their script, the theatrical production, word for word about what was really being said, which I think is incredible. They invited me at Disclosure Network to go to a preview, a reading of that. And I'm telling you, Ray, it was a high point. What an amazing story and the way they managed to produce it. And then COVID hit, and the plans had to be put away for a while
Oh,
because, the theaters were closed and people weren't producing new plays at the time because of the threat of being infected at the time that was going around. So I'm hoping that they'll regroup because it needs to be on stage for people to see. It was a thrilling, thrilling play.
Oh, that would be awesome. And speaking of New Jersey, New Hampshire, um, in 1966, in Exeter, they had those sightings by the police officers, and that was the same time that the power grid went down on the East Coast.
There you go. Think of that. Maybe there's a connection.
Oh yeah. In the movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still,
Mhm.
they said we need a sign that won't harm people, but just to let them know that we're here and that we're powerful. And I thought, wow, that would be the perfect thing. Just shut down all the power
It would get
momentarily.
people's attention. It would certainly get people's attention. That would do it. Also, Ray, I want to go back a second because you mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about. You said that the co-writer of one of your later books was a police captain. Is that correct?
Oh yes, he was chief of police in
Now, now,
Fayette County.
I'm thinking he must have had some personal experiences of sightings and so forth.
Oh yes, he's had UFO sightings and that, but uh, and it's other paranormal phenomena he's investigated, like the Bigfoot and so forth. But he hasn't encountered one of those yet. But he has had some UFO experiences.
Excellent. Well, yeah, because I've talked to other people who were policemen who were in cars on one time on a highway, and they saw in the night sky what they thought was a plane in trouble because of the way the lights were. And as it got closer, they said that was not a plane, that
Oh,
was a spaceship.
are you talking about Herb Shermer's case
I
in
think
Nebraska with the
uh,
red lights and the
where was it location?
that was in Ashland, Nebraska in December of 1967.
That's a different story.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a different
a
story.
UFO came down and it turns out that he was taken aboard the craft and they identified themselves as being from Venus.
From here we go again. I guess, Ray, if you had to, and I hope you will, be invited to go in a ship and go to a visiting planet, I wonder what planet you would choose. Let me just guess. Could
Oh,
it possibly be our lovely planet Venus? I think,
oh,
yes.
oh yes, hands down.
Mhm. And I'm guessing here, but I'm thinking that underneath the surface of Venus, there are cities that have been there for very long periods of time, very advanced. Do you think that that's a possibility that they're underground?
Oh yes, most definitely. Um, a, Countless millennia ago, the planet was bombarded by a massive meteorite storm, and what it did is it it pushed the planet in a retrograde orbit. And so when you're standing on the surface there, you see the sun rise in the west and set in the east.
Oh,
And
that's
it messed up the environment significantly enough for the civilization to move underground. But there was a bifurcation that took place where some some more advanced beings ascended into a higher dimension, and then the others went underground.
I have a feeling that underground is a huge subject. We know that millionaires have spent fortunes building huge facilities underground in case war comes to the planet, that they have a very safe place to go. And I've even seen plans where they have projector screens uh, with looks like you're outside, even though you're way underground because the screens look like windows and that you could control where the windows would be. So you could be in a garden, you could be somewhere in, it would seem like you're in Alaska or wherever you wanted to be. And these are huge facilities and also underground transport tunnels that go as fast as planes. And that's all underground on a huge scale. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Oh yeah. I owned land in New Mexico, out in Dayton, New Mexico,
Oh, yeah.
and then out there also, and then at Archuleta and other places. There's like a lot of UFOs that just pop out of the ground over hovering over the mountains.
Yeah.
The Native Americans are aware of them, and they're believed to be like a tunnel network, and they're crisscrossing the western United States.
Also, the Indian tribes, some of them in the Four Corners area of the West, and they refer to the star people that are coming back, that are going to return, and talk about starships. And I was blown away when I started investigating. The American Indians uh, are not strangers to visitations that's happening.
Oh yeah, that's a major theme in the Real Resident Aliens.
Ah,
The last five chapters are looking at I'm looking at Hopi legends and Native Americans and the petroglyphs out in the Hopi lands in Arizona, and all the legends and everything. And Chief Dan Kachonga, he was 112 years old and a Hopi elder and a friend of a famous contactee named Paul Solom, who was an Idaho farmer that went down to live with the Indians, was in contact with the space people. And this Indian chief, went out. All the people in the tribe saw him walk out into the desert at 112 years old. A flying saucer came down and landed, and he got in it and was taken up and never came back to Earth again.
can you imagine where they might have taken him and the adventures that he experienced? Betty and Barney Hill, as you know, were taken into a ship, and they have some very vivid memories about what that was when they were put under hypnosis. And they were interviewed individually, and they said very, very much the same thing. They weren't even in the same room at points when the doctor was examining them. And so it just verified what they were experiencing as they told the doctor. It's these are incredible stories, Ray. Are you working on a new book? I know we're getting close to the end of the program. This flies by, and I knew it would. It always does. Oh my goodness, Hercules, I thank you for your cue cards there about how much time we have. I think it's a little more than maybe 6 minutes or something like that.
Oh yes, I am working on some other books, and I'll just keep them under my hat for now. But I am going to Mount
You're not
Shasta.
wearing a hat. No, no, Ray, you're not wearing a hat. So
Keep them
you're wearing earphones. You're wearing the earphones.
under my mouse ears.
Oh, you do? Okay, all right. We'll let that go.
Well, I'll be at Mount Shasta this summer again for the summer conference. It's going to be from uh, June 27th through July 3rd. And if you check the Promise Revealed, I think it's thepromiserevealed.net, all one word, The Promise Revealed. You can get information on that
Are you going to
conference.
speak there? Will you be speaking as one of the speakers?
Yes, I'll be one of the speakers there. It's going to be a celebration also of Rob Potter's life, because he passed away recently. And
That's going to be quite a weekend, I'm sure. Perhaps after that, Ray, we could have you back again and you could report on what was said there and about the event itself. Would you be willing to come back?
oh, sure, I'd love to.
I would love that. Ray, you are a dear friend, first of all, and your knowledge is phenomenal. You're sharing amazing insights, and I just want to thank you for doing your important work.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Nick. It's a pleasure, and thank you, Hercules. Thanks for for all that you do to uh, keep the public and keep the public informed, and also for keeping information about my books and the writing that I do in front of the public as well. Thank you
We
so
go
much.
to Amazon and we're going looking for these books, including the new one. That's exciting. Count me, and I will get one also. And I'm sure my group, I will make sure that they're going to see this video you've just done, and they will also, I'm sure, that they will be very interested in what you have. I've seen your books. I've bought many of them, and they're packed with wonderful information. So you're an amazing man and a great author, and I thank you. This is Nick Curto for Disclosure Network New York, wishing you all to keep your eyes open and your mind open and look up and understand that we have families not only on this planet, but on other realms, and that we need to embrace that, embrace the idea that we're not alone, never have been alone, and that the most exciting adventures are ahead. So good night, everyone. Much love to you all, not only on this planet, but to every being everywhere. Good night, everybody.
Night. Celestial blessings to everyone.
And thanks to both of you for an excellent, informative show. Raymond, I was so impressed. I'm going to seek out your books as soon as our program finishes. And you touched upon some things we're investigating now. So expect an invitation to speak about that on another show. And you also brought up nostalgia within me. Over a decade ago, my wife and I were investigating portals in Pennsylvania. We lived in northeastern Pennsylvania at the time. So
Oh
I
my.
got to find those books first.
Well, thank you, Hercules. Thank you so much. And I'm going to look up that cosmogony on the Amazon as well and pick up a copy of it.
Thank you very much. Thanks to both of you and many blessings to all. Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night. Much love to all. Much love.
Thank you.